Hey there, thanks for tuning into DuckBricks. I'm Chris, and today we have a bit of an interesting video topic. You see, LEGO sent me the LEGO Friends Advent Calendar for review a few months ago, but then I also recently got the LEGO Belville Advent Calendar from, 2007, and I thought it'd be really interesting to take them side by side and see how LEGO's marketing towards girls have changed over the years and how, in some ways, it might have stayed the same. If you don't know what Belville is, Belville was LEGO's original answer to creating an original IP that was girl-oriented. It was using these doll-like figures that were quite large at a completely different scale from minifigures, and it definitely spawned some very interesting builds, some very interesting figures and aesthetics, and I'm really curious that if we take the two side by side, what are the differences, what are the similarities, and has LEGO really changed all that much in how they market towards young girls over the years? I hope you enjoy this analysis video, and so let's jump into it right now.
Okay, so here is set number 41758. It is the LEGO Friends Advent Calendar from 2023. And here is set number 7600, the LEGO Belville Advent Calendar from 2007. Both calendars are generally themed towards young girls, and I find it really interesting how much they've changed over the years, with the focus being primarily on mini dolls, their adventures, their animal companions, and a couple of small side builds for the LEGO Friends one, and the LEGO Belville one being more focused on accessories that you could give the dolls, although not actually including any of the full-size dolls in the model itself. Now, let's open it up and take a look at the comparison between these two items. The first thing I do want to point out that's really interesting about the Belville one is that the artwork inside of the actual advent calendar is really nice. I really like how they've displayed all of the 2007 era sets all out. Obviously they were going for a bit of a fairy tale theme for this particular year of Belville, so you can see some of the different princesses and princes and snow castles. It's a far cry from modern, realistic styled, almost like city stuff that we get with the normal LEGO Friends for this lineup. Belville had the really interesting thing of going back and forth in between giving us sets that were based around modern life and horseback riding and whatnot, but also giving us fairy tale based sets, showcased right here with some of the castles, the horses, the carriages, and so on and so forth. This to me is actually a really nice spread. I love the artwork, and the entire composition of the scene feels very warm and inviting despite being an icy landscape. It makes me not only want to transport myself there, have some of that delicious food that they're enjoying on the banquet table, and live in the castle, but of course it also makes me want to get the Belville sets themselves, and I actually have placed a few Bricklink orders after seeing this image just because of how nice everything looked all laid out. In contrast, the LEGO Friends Advent Calendar, honestly, I feel like is a little bit of a step down compared to the Belville one. The background is just kind of a generic art piece, which you can see right here. There are bits and pieces of the train tracks because you do get to build a small train for the LEGO Friends calendar, but altogether this doesn't really necessarily feel like it has a LEGO vibe to me, which I guess is sort of the point. You're supposed to use it as a backdrop to play with your minifigures and make scenes of them, but I definitely feel like I really do prefer the Belville one, which really just showcases all of the different LEGO models that you could pick up around the time and just feels very warm and inviting. But now let's go ahead and take a look at all of the items. I've gone ahead and actually built all of them so we can kind of go one by one and see what both calendars have to offer. Here we have the contents of both advent calendars laid out. The one on the right is the LEGO Belville one. In 2007, when it released, it retailed for $20 US, which roughly translates to around $30 US today, and the one on the left retails for $35 US in 2023. This one came with 215 pieces, whereas the newer one comes with a few more at 231. All in all, the price ranges are about the same. The new one is $5 more, roughly in comparison with inflation adjusted, and it does come with 15 or so more pieces, but all in all, they have pretty comparable prices and piece counts. Now, immediately the thing that you'll probably notice from here is that the one that came out in 2007 is almost aggressively pink. In fact, every single one of the mini builds, save for just a few, was really geared towards maintaining this pink and white color scheme, where you have pink and white castle turrets, pink and white micro builds, pink and white tables. You get a lot of sparkly elements here as well, transparent pinks, but really just trying to maintain the look and feel that's very pink. On the other hand, the 2023 LEGO Friends Advent Calendar doesn't really try to push one color scheme or another. If anything, I would say the color scheme is just colorful, playful, and kid-friendly. It's not really geared towards one gender or another, and both mini dolls included in the set, one of which is male and one of which is female, definitely do add to the diversity of the brand new 2023 Friends Advent Calendar. Just by comparing the two from the visual aesthetic and color scheme point of view, it seems that LEGO has now been doing a much better job at actually making things that they design for young girls, sets, themes, playsets, you name it, as being more gender neutral and inviting and welcoming to pretty much anyone of any orientation, which I think is a major benefit of what LEGO is doing today. I, for one, really enjoy LEGO Friends sets, and I definitely enjoy them a lot better than I did in 2012, when they were mostly oriented and themed around the pinkish color scheme, whereas nowadays they're just really nice and modern realistic buildings and are just made to create fun and engaging scenes in your city. The one thing that I do want to point out though is that yes, the color scheme is definitely a lot more gender neutral for this particular newer Friends Advent Calendar as compared to the Belville one in 2007, but the thing that did genuinely surprise me about these two Advent Calendars is that the new one is actually pretty light on building, which came as a complete shock to me. Belville, after all, is pretty known to have a very minimal building experience, and because of that, I expected the Advent Calendar to be pretty light on building, and if anything, I figure that most of the Advent Calendar would be made up of just single-piece animal molds, maybe a couple of accessories here and there, and not much else. But if you compare the two, there's actually a surprisingly high amount of building involved in the Belville Advent Calendar that really took me by surprise, and I really enjoyed it, especially when compared to the newer 2023 LEGO Friends Advent Calendar, where zooming in, you can see that many of the days, obviously 8 of the days, were dedicated to just little animal figurines. Many of them were just 2 pieces, one animal and one stand to place them on, as well as the mini dolls themselves, while being nice characters, don't really offer that much in the building experience. And so, because of that, most of the LEGO Friends Advent Calendar is very building light. There is one day that literally just has you make a ton of accessories, most of which are loose pieces. I guess this is supposed to be food for the animals, but man, that one was pretty lame to be completely honest compared to what we got in the Belville one, where as you can see, there's actually some pretty interesting things being done here in terms of the buildings. One of my favorite builds here is this micro castle. It's nothing super fancy, it's a pretty simple, solid build, but it has these really nice transparent satin sparkly pieces which look really cool, and it actually does involve some asymmetrical building to really try to flesh out the castle world. You even get large-scale castle turrets which don't even require that much building, but can allow you to add them onto your own Belville castles, and every single one of the builds offered something pretty unique, from a fireplace here with a purple snowflake on the top, which is a really nice touch, to this table. I guess it's supposed to be a table. Not really sure what exactly it's supposed to be, but it's quite interesting, with drum lacquered metallic silver poles and transparent blue crowns on the top. There's quite a lot of different things that the LEGO Belville Advent Calendar has you build. And even in the days where you were just getting one single animal mold, you at least were building something with them. The cat here, for instance, again, this cat did originate in the Belville lineup, does have a playpen to surround it, as well as a ton of little balls and assorted, I guess, balls of yarn for the cat to actually play with, so there is a bit of an extra building experience added into it. Even the Christmas tree, which is just one single piece, is a beautiful dual molded element showcasing the snow on the treetops. This is actually the very first dual molded white and green tree I own, and it's really, really cool to see this. I'm a big fan of this piece, and it even came with little buildable presents as well. Moving onwards, in contrast to the actual modern LEGO Friends Advent Calendar today, there are little bits and pieces of building, but they're kind of few and far between. The most involved one is this train, which is really nice. It takes up 3 different days, but you actually build different segments of the train along with it. But I will say I was honestly pretty disappointed by the lack of building for most of the days. When around 10 out of the 24 days are basically just putting together an animal or a figure, most of which isn't even putting them together. Like, you get just this as one single piece. It's just a dog and a thing to put them on. You stick the dog on the stand and it's good to go. I was honestly a bit disappointed by that because I was hoping for a little bit more variation in the builds. Even for some of the actual build days, you don't really have a lot to them. Like, this one's just a crate full of accessories to put on the tree, so I don't even know if I would count that as a build. It's literally just 2 pieces and a ton of loose parts. Same with these two. These are basically just Christmas gifts, so they're the LEGO box element where you can see the insides, but honestly, not much building into it, and it is a bit disappointing, especially when you compare it to some of the other LEGO Advent Calendars that came out in 2023, like Star Wars, or Marvel, or even Harry Potter or City, where you actually have every single day being an interesting build for the most part, or an interesting microscale build. It definitely feels that for the girl-oriented theme of LEGO Friends, it's almost unfair how little building there actually is in the Advent Calendar itself. And so, I definitely see that these two Advent Calendars actually provide two different ways that LEGO could pretty much improve their experience, especially when making Advent Calendars geared towards young girls, but also in general just kind of trying to design sets and play themes with different demographics in mind. This one is very, very heavy on the pink color scheme, and I can definitely see that a lot of young boys might not have been interested in getting this, whereas by color scheme alone, I can see kids of really any gender or orientation, whatever they may be interested in this particular thing for the builds and for the cute animals. I definitely do feel, though, that the building experience in 2007 was actually a lot better than 2023. As you can see, there's so many different unique builds here. There's a lot going on. You even, of course, have the golden Zammer sphere to enslave an island population, should you wish, from Bionicle. But of course, there's lots and lots of different things that you can do with the items and accessories here. And sure, maybe there's a couple of them that actually are specifically just supposed to be accessories for the other dolls that you would get in other sets. Like these here are obviously supposed to just be accessories, but that was only one out of the 24 different days, whereas most of the 2023 one does include a ton of these cute animal molds, and kids love animals, but I feel like having a small build to go alongside them definitely would have added to the value of the set itself and made me appreciate it a lot more. I think as one final thing, I should mention the piece counts of some of the other LEGO Advent Calendars. The Star Wars Advent Calendar comes with 320 pieces, which is basically 100 more than the Friends one. The Harry Potter and Marvel ones also have a ton of pieces, so I definitely really do feel that LEGO should have just given more builds in the 2023 Friends Advent Calendar, especially when you compare it to what came before. Neither of these are perfect, and I definitely feel like the perfect blend for a gender-inclusive, maybe themed towards young girls, or at least marketed towards them, but a gender-inclusive Advent Calendar featuring all sorts of unique builds is something we haven't quite gotten yet, especially when you compare 2023 to 2007. And I definitely feel that LEGO does have an opportunity to improve here, especially when crafting more complex builds, especially for the Friends line, which in every other sense has been absolutely killing it with builds, especially in 2023 and 2024. Overall, I'm pretty glad I actually got the chance to compare these two sets. Thank you to LEGO for sending me the Friends Advent Calendar all the way back in September, and I finally got a chance to review it and showcase it right now, and I really wanted to do something special with the review and do this interesting comparison of LEGO throughout the years, where in some ways, many things have changed, but in a lot of other ways, things really haven't changed, and maybe there's room for them to change. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this special look at how LEGO has changed the way they market towards young girls from 2007 to 2023, and let me know if you want to see more videos on obscure LEGO themes like Belville, because I now have a lot more sets on the way.
Alright, and with that, we have summed up our look at the 2007 LEGO Belville Advent Calendar versus the 2023 LEGO Friends Advent Calendar. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Let me know what you think of the differences between the two themes down in the comments below. And of course, like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye for now.